Hello, 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 my little maniacs. This is your host, the Maniacs Gaming, coming back at ya with another video. In today's video, we'll be doing a preview for the Buccaneers Texans game for Monday Night Football. Let's get it. Alright, so game details. The game we played tonight at 7 o'clock. I'm recording this a couple hours beforehand. So any of this information that you'll see could be up to date, could be out of date by the time it comes out, especially the injuries, whatnot. But it's going to be played in Houston. So last week, the Bucs beat the Falcons 23-20, where the offense had its moments. Mecca looked really good. The run game did not look good. Baker was a little rough, only having barely over 100 yards, but overall, he made some pretty good throws. He did what needed to be done to win the game. Defense did really well, honestly. I can't really complain too much. Only let up 20 points, but a lot of that was field goals. And, at the end of the game, it came down to a missed field goal. But again, I'm not going to complain too much. Again, we got the job done. Keep moving. As for the Texans, they lost to the Rams last week, 14-9, I believe that's the correct score. Where their offense looked real rough. I don't think Stroud had a single passing touchdown. Nick Chubb looked okay, but yeah, Stroud had a really rough game. I know he had an interception, but their defense limited the Rams to 14 points and definitely did not lose them this game. Unless you count them giving up 14 points as losing the game, but in the NFL right now, that's just unrealistic. Now for injuries, so these are what is confirmed as of the time of me recording this. So Wirfs and Godwin are both out with an injury. Morrison is questionable to play, but I think I believe him, Luke, and Izzy are all leaning towards playing. Obviously, this week confirmed when inactives come out, but as of right now, the inactives are not out. As for the Texans, Jake Andrews, their starting center, is out. Braxton Berrios and Christian Kirk, two wide receivers, are both out. That Jake Andrews being out and having to put in a backup center is going to be a key part for the Bucs offense. Well, Bucs defense, sorry. As for the offenses, Buccaneers, the offense, man. Offense was something that really, it was hit and miss last week, obviously, with the O-line, which we're going to talk about here in a second. The wide receivers not, getting some nice looks, as well as the running game just not being able to get going. But, again, like, a lot of that could be behind the O-line of having to shift it around, whatnot, with Wirfs being injured. But I believe the Bucs are going to be elevating Michael Jordan again to play left guard, so they're probably going to have, Breslin at center, and then Hainsey over at tackle. We'll have to see what happens there. And then another thing I'm kind of curious about is going to be the Emeka and Mike split tonight. Obviously, Mike has returned to Texas for potentially the last time, which would be very sad if that's true. We'll see what happens there. But Emeka obviously last week looked really good. 60 yards, 2 touchdowns. Cannot complain about that. As for the Texans, obviously their offense needs to step it up this week. Their offense was kind of dookie last week, to put it lightly. Only mustering 9 points is not a great thing. Whereas their run game was pretty good. Nick Chubb obviously had over 4 yards to carry. He looked pretty good for them, so I expect them definitely to get him more involved, which is another part of that I think is going to be a good part for this Bucs defense, seeing how well they can keep him in check, because obviously they held Bijan in check. I believe they only gave up in total to the Falcons 2.5 yards to carry. We'll have to see how the Bucs do with that entirely. As for and then obviously their wide receivers, they just need to get their wide receivers more involved. Obviously, last week I don't think Stroud hit 200 yards, so again, they're going to have to just get their wide receivers more involved and get them open. As for the defense, the Buccaneers, again, key areas we got to look at are going to be the DBs, linebackers, and pass rush. I'll say it again. These are always going to be the main things for the Bucs, just because Jesus Christ. Yeah. But DBs, again, we got to hope they can keep Nico in check. Linebackers, we got to hope they can help with keeping tight ends in check, keeping Nick Chubb in check, and the pass rush just got to get to Stroud. Pass rush has to get to Stroud and keep him under pressure and be able to bring him to the ground a few times. As for the Texans, D-line, DBs, and linebackers, again, their D-line is going to be very crucial this game because they're going to need to keep not only Bucky Irvin in check, but also try to make Baker uncomfortable and try to force Baker to make throws he doesn't want to make. As for the DBs, they're going to have a tall task ahead of them. Derek Stanley Jr. versus Mike Evans versus Emeka when he's in that position. That's going to be a beautiful matchup, in my opinion. We're going to see which one comes out on top. As for the linebackers, they're going to need to be used to just help with keeping the run game in check, as well as keeping Kate Otten in check. So the question marks for this game, the Buccaneers, O-line. Is the O-line going to keep up its play from last week and help keep Baker upright? Who knows? We'll have to see what happens there. As for DB coverage, again, how is the DB room going to be able to keep Nico in check? Are we going to have more help over top with Antoine Winfield Jr., especially where he came in so clutch last week by forcing a knockout? And Jamel Dean, as much as I don't like him, he did make a couple good plays last week, so I'll respect that. And the pass rush, again, is going to be a big question mark because, again, outside of Son Reddick last week, nobody really looked too great. Yaya had a sack that would have been a sack if it wasn't for a face mask. So, again, it's just something we got to build on the pass rush and just make Stroud uncomfortable in the backfield. As for the Texans, Chubb. How is Chubb going to perform against this Bucs defense that prevented Bijan Robinson from being able to take over the game? Is he going to be able to perform at a decent level, or is he going to be just another footnote, and that's just not going to be existent? And the Texans O-line, again, their O-line is banged up and is it's arguably worse than last year. So again, how is that O-line going to hold up against the Bucs blitz happy defense? That's going to be a big question mark for this game. And then their DBs versus the Bucs receivers, again, they got Mike, they got Emeka, who's been looking great. We're going to see how the DBs for the Texans are able to work together to be able to slow down that option and try to make Baker force some throws here and there. Next, we got the keys to the game. For the Bucs, it's very simple. Feed Mike and Emeka. They're your two wide receivers. They're the main wide receivers. They're where you're going to want to go with the football to try to keep the Texans off the field and try to convert situations. You want to feed Bucky and Rashad when he's on the field. Again, you want to keep that time. You want to just keep draining the clock, get those hard fought yards on the ground, and try to establish a run game that will go with key number 3 of keeping the time of possession. Again, we want to stay on the field. We want to make it so the Texans have less time to try to score. As for the Texans, I'm going to change this up a little bit, but they want to contain Mike and Emeka. Again, that's going to be a big key to the game because if they're going to take Mike, that's one of the biggest weapons for Baker out of the game. If they can take him out, that's going to be a big plus for them. But also now they're going to have to keep Emeka in check as well. And then the Texans are probably going to have to lean a little on the short game, especially with the Bucs blitz happy defense and a leaky offensive line, especially without their starting center. And then they're going to want to put pressure on Baker and make Baker force some throws that he doesn't want to make. Players to watch for this game. We've got for the Bucs, it's Mike, Bucky, and Emeka again. Yeah, it's gonna happen. Like that is gonna always be the biggest point for them. Again, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, and running back 1. Expect Mike to make a couple crucial grabs, especially on 3rd and long situations or crucial first downs that we need to get. Bucky, again, look for him in the short yardage game, outside of the backfield, go screen passes, look for him to get involved through the air and on the ground. And then Emeka, look for him to be building off his week 1 performance and trying to keep up and just being able to set new levels. I would not be surprised if we again get Emeka like 50 yards and a touchdown, but I think a lot of the focus is going to be Mike. Just I feel like that matchup's gonna a lot of the key matchup here is going to be Stingley versus Emeka versus where he took over the game last week for the Bucs. As for the Texans, players to watch Stroud. How is Stroud going to adjust to the blitz happy defense, especially after having a weaker performance last week? How is Nico going to perform against the Bucs secondary? And then how is Stingley going to adjust to being able to try to cover Mike versus Emeka? Are we going to see him be a little more physical with Mike versus Emeka? How is he going to perform against the two? And then for both sides, we got both O-lines versus the opposing D-line. Again, Bucs makeshift O-line. Let's see if they can keep up the performance last week, especially against Will Anderson Jr. And then for the Texans, how are they going to get pressure on Baker? And then how are we going to get pressure on the Texans, especially with the weaker offensive line this week? And then again, wide receiver room versus the opposing DBs. Again, I feel like this is gonna be a shootout. We're gonna be airing out the ball for Tampa. Texans are probably gonna have to air the ball out to keep up with us, so that's gonna be a very key part of this game. Is just trying to be able to keep both sides in check. As for my content, so obviously I announced yesterday I'm going on vacation. So these are going to be one of the. I don't know if there's going to be another stream this week, but I know for sure there's going to be the Bucs Texans stream tonight, and then right after it's going to be Chargers Raiders at 10. It might be one continued stream. It might be 2 separate streams. I have not figured that part out yet. We'll have to see what happens there. It depends on timing, obviously. So we're going to see when we get to that. But also, I plan to have a couple shorts out over the weekend. Maybe a video if I have time to record one.
Obviously, the season predictions will be out. Bucs pregame. I don't think I'll be able to record it beforehand, so there might be a different version of it out. But we'll have to see what happens there. And obviously, the Bucs post game for the Bucs versus Texans will hopefully be out Wednesday. So if everything goes to plan, post game out Wednesday because unless I somehow have time to record it tomorrow morning. Then weekly predictions will be out Thursday before Thursday Night Football, and then shorts hopefully Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then content after that will be up in the air. It depends on how many shorts I get out of this stream. I'm going to be looking back at the other stream for Bucs Falcons to try to get more shorts out of that. But anyway, guys, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on that noti bell. On the road to 2,000 subscribers, trying to hit that by the end of the year, trying to hit 1,700 before the Buffalo trip. Let's get it, fam. And as always, I will see all you guys later. Stay crazy, fam.